Three,
Fill your
two,
vodka.
one.
And intro. And welcome. We are here tonight, back another issue of Blue Collar Green Pockets. Tonight we've got a couple guests with ABC, which is the Associated Builders and Contractors Group. Starting with Rebecca Cliffish. She's ABC in Wisconsin. She's the Jobs Ambassador. She also used to be the former Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin. Along with Charlie Timmons. He's the Membership Director out of Lewis, Delaware. And as always, we've got Dave Jones, Chuck Wilson, and myself, Jared Brett. We're going to dive right in tonight. They're going to tell you all about how you could get a hold of your local ABC, all the different jobs and connections you could get with them. And they'll tell you all about it. We're going to start right out with Rebecca. How you doing tonight, Rebecca?
I'm doing great. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for having me on your show, on your podcast. It is wonderful to join you from Wisconsin's fantastic summer, which lasts full 3 days. And the nice thing is when people aren't fishing and enjoying the limited baseball games that we have going on during this COVID-19. Most people in the construction industry here in our state are actually at work because construction was ruled an essential industry even during the coronavirus. And because we consider construction kind of a leading edge economic indicator, it's really important that our construction industry not only continue to build the infrastructure on which we depend, but also have the talent pipeline to make sure that we can continue to build and maintain that infrastructure. So apprenticeships even continue while so many other educational institutions are in flux. Apprenticeship here in Wisconsin through ABC is alive and well, as is business. And we're pretty proud of that.
That's a lot to be proud of.
I think so.
Charlie, real quick, little introduction. Tell us what you're doing in Lewis, Delaware.
Yeah, again, I'm the membership director for Associated Builders and Contractors in Delaware. And, we're an organization that puts on events for our members, let them network, let them get to know each other, share best practices. We have safety and education programs that we offer. So we're training our members with OSHA 10 classes, CPR classes, fall protection, anything that they need to really be a safe provider of construction services. And then we also get into the schools. So on a regular basis, we're into our local high school tech schools to talk about construction and try to get these kids involved in construction careers. What we recognize most of the time is, frankly, we're talking to the wrong people. We really need to talk to the parents, because it's typically the parents that are directing their kids to college, when sometimes going into a trade occupation can be just as rewarding for the student.
And a lot faster.
And a lot faster.
And a lot
less,
cheaper.
A lot less debt.
Cheaper.
A lot less debt, Dave, isn't it?
Exactly.
Charlie, it's interesting. We here in Wisconsin started a micro TV series just for the purpose you're talking about, addressing this not only with moms and dads, but also with young people who are making career decisions, and even in the last several months, addressing adults who may not have had a job in an essential industry over the last several months or weeks, are concerned about unemployment insurance, and didn't make it into the payroll protection plan. And
Right.
So we're talking to people about what the construction industry looks like and what are the requirements in order to jump in. And you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at the average student loan debt here in Wisconsin, it's about $30,000 per student. The same exact amount of time, let's say about 5 years, because a lot of kids tack on that extra, that super senior year. For an electrician apprentice, for example, you're earning money while you are learning, while the student going to traditional university is going to have $30,000 in student loan debt. Because they're earning while they are learning, and because tuition for these apprenticeship classes is so inexpensive, is such a bargain, you're actually coming out 190,000 estimated above the bottom line. That's an incredible difference.
Yeah,
That's your first.
Yeah, it's a huge education task to try to get parents who, I mean, they've raised their children wanting them to go to college, aspiring to go to college. That's all they've ever learned. So they choose to have that image of what is success. And frankly, it's hard to change that. It's really hard to change that. The kids are ingrained that that's the way to be successful, is to go to college.
Well, I know that I forced, I have two sons. One is our technical person, and I don't think he really wanted to go to college, but I kind of pushed him off to do that. Then he went for a year to the University of Memphis. Didn't go so well, but then he went into the Air Force and really found what he found the training and so on that he really needed for what ended up being his career in computers. And I learned a lesson as a parent, but I was out of kids so I was wasted that lesson, I suppose.
Too late.
Yeah. But
You're teaching it now, Chuck.
that's it. Now I know what if I have another kid, but not going to happen.
I think some of it comes as having two boys myself, Chuck, and they both went to college, and they're both in careers now that they could have done without going to college. But that doesn't mean their time in college or their degree didn't serve them somehow. But I think the important thing we need to get back to is, like when you and I, Chuck and I are about the same age. When you and I were in school, we had shop classes. We could get a taste of stuff. Okay, we had shop class, we had automotive class, we had all these classes. It seems like about 25 years ago, I watched this start to dry up. Even in Votex, I remember one time in the Votex in Delaware, them doing away with like HVAC, and they put in sports management. I'm like, what are they doing with this? I mean, I'm an HVAC guy, so that's the background I come from. But I think, don't Charlie and Rebecca, don't you think that we really need to get back to giving people a taste of it in our schools?
100%. I think you're right, Dave. And we noticed during the COVID-19 situation here in Wisconsin, there were actually tech ed teachers and engineering teachers that used our Money Job series as part of their virtual learning, because a lot of our schools switched instantaneously to Zoom classes and Skype and Facebook Live and virtual learning almost instantly. And they were stuck in a technical education class kind of without tools. I mean, how do you teach tech ed and not actually be there with tools or with welding equipment or with some of the very important hands-on activities by which you can judge and give a student a grade? Well, we had this Money Job series, which does teach a lot of these concepts, and a lot of them are kind of social structure concepts. Like we talk about the clout that comes with these jobs. Elected officials listen to ABC members because they know that they are really important in our economy. And not only that, but the money is huge. I mean, if you're going to judge success, isn't this something that counts on the vast matrix of what makes an American successful? And so when you talk about the education that is available, we're trying to assure that folks have the opportunities to learn from what we're doing at ABC. But, we have noticed the same as you that there are a lot of schools that stepped away from a traditional home ec and tech ed curriculum, something that we would just consider career prep or vocational prep. And they have instead tried.
Or a second choice.
Right.
A fallback.
Exactly. And I think what they tried to do was, compete on standardized test scores with Shanghai and Sweden, thinking, well, if we track everyone toward four-year college or university, certainly we will become far more internationally educational, competitive. And what we saw was that's not true. I mean, it's 30 years later, and we have students now going 1-2 years, accumulating ridiculous amounts of student loan debt, being unhappy, turning around and going and pursuing what they actually love that they weren't really exposed to or weren't really encouraged to do in high school. We need to bring back career and technical education.
Rebecca, I think you nailed it with exposure, and which is the whole idea, the whole premises of our show is we're trying to get all the different trades. I mean, career day was kind of a joke. I mean, I'll be honest, in my school, you got the same like top 10 careers that everybody wants to go to college for. And then you got maybe some military, but they really didn't have a voice for all the different jobs that are actually out here. We're starting with the ones, of course, that, they offered VOTEC, vocational training, but we're, any cool jobs out there, anybody listening, there's a cool job, hit us up. We'll be happy to get some people on the show doing it.
Charlie, what do you think? Do you share that feeling that Rebecca had?
Yeah, we've seen a huge swing in Sussex County where most of our members are into more tech training. We've got a tech school here that is placing about 100 different kids in co-op programs every summer, every fall when they're in their senior year. That wasn't happening 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So we're starting to see that swing and the people really realizing that there's value to tech schools. I think tech schools lost their value 6, 7, 8 years ago when kids started having that, I don't want to say they were second class, but if you went to tech school, you were a little bit less than the kids that went to the academic.
It didn't have the sex, did it?
No, it didn't. It didn't.
It didn't have the sex. It was like, almost like a second choice. But now, what we've found on here on our show is a common denominator every week. It seems like the people that we've met on this show, no matter what the industry in there is, love what they do. They have a passion for it. Mm-hmm. Like it's their passion. Like they literally eat, sleep, and breathe. And we've had people. We got a guy that started out as a diesel mechanic, went in the Marines. He's running the fleet for like, what was it, Chuck? 6 or 7 countries.
Yeah, well, in Europe, Southern Europe, he's in charge of the auto fleet. So, as
a government employee, just loves what he does. Yeah. We've had landscape guys that went and got a certificate or a 2-year degree. So it seems to me, not overall, but somebody coming out of college, I don't hear them talking passionately about sitting in a cubicle entering data. Yeah. Okay. But on this show, I've heard every week, right? Right, Jeb? Every week, same passion. It's like passion. How about Jessica from your state, Rebecca?
She's on. She's tuned in.
Loves her job. And Jessie grew up with her dad in the construction industry, so she did have some exposure. But if you talk to Jessie, then you know that she never intended to go into the plumbing industry. That was never her thing. This is something that she just kind of fell into, arrived at, but now she's passionate about both being a mom and a CEO and a master plumber, which I think is so cool and so powerful. And we need to do a better job of helping women understand that these careers are for them and helping just kind of diversify the workforce in the construction industry. I always say to folks, why don't we make sure there is a parade entry in every single Independence Day parade in America with a truck pulling a boat saying, do you want this? If you do, call ABC. Because we can hook you up with a career where you could buy both these things. Probably if you're pretty decent at
you just hit Jeb's button, because he had probably, I didn't know him when he was 22 years old, but he literally got a vocational, he literally got a technical school degree, a junior college degree in high school. And by the time he was 22 years old, how many toys did you have, Jeb?
I had a couple toys, 2 master's license, a couple toys.
Yeah, I mean, just seems
Well,
like we
Dave,
need to get back to that.
Had a
you
house.
know as well as I do how many people here have gone through the tech schools, Dave, and got that entry-level position, and within 8, 9, 10 years own their own companies.
Oh
And
yeah,
are now doing
and
some
you
of the
know them
biggest
all. You know them
commercial
all.
jobs in the marketplace. So, you know, I think with a lot of these kids, you've got to get them to realize that you are going to have to start entry level, but look out 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, and then make a judgment of did you make the right decision. We've
Because
got all kinds of successful cases here in Lower Delaware.
well, and you set your when you talk about that entry level in the trades, one thing you do, and this is with respect to apprenticeship programs that have a certain time period to them too. But one thing you do is you literally set your own pace. Okay, you could, you know, I in my company, I've had guys come in my company, young guys. I'm thinking of a couple right now. Come in young, show up, put their cell phone down, read at night about the trade. Next thing you know, they're moving up. They're controlling how fast they go, which is something very unique to the trades. You can really control how fast you go.
Right.
You know,
And not only that, Dave, the skills are portable. That's another thing that we like to talk about in the series Money Jobs. And if you guys want to watch it, it's super easy to find. It's just abcwi.org/moneyjobs, and you can watch all the episodes. But we talk about the fact that once you have these skills, you can move anywhere and they are recognized. You can do these things anywhere you go, and that value is in your education. They can never take away knowledge. I mean, you can have all sorts of toys repossessed if you're financially irresponsible, but what can't be taken away from you is the intelligence you possess, the skill set that you have earned and learned. And that's something that is incredibly valuable, that portability. The other thing is the reliability of this industry. Jobs in the construction industry will never be outsourced. I was talking to an apprentice last week, a guy named Dave. He worked in the manufacturing industry in the 2007-2008 moment where, in Wisconsin at least, we began to see a lot of folks outsource their jobs to India and China and Mexico. And we saw a deep economic recession. A lot of those jobs were lost. And it was Dave's misfortune that he had to kind of reconsider what he was doing for a living. And he realized that in the construction industry, you know, if there's a plumbing issue, you're not calling China. If there's an HVAC issue, I mean, here in Wisconsin, we have those 3 days of air conditioning that we do here in summer. You're not calling a technician in India to come over quick fix that. If we're building buildings, we're not getting labor internationally. These are going to be U.S. jobs, and they're going to be filled by the people who live here. So the skills are portable, and the jobs are reliably never going to be outsourced overseas.
That's a great point.
I think the other thing we miss too is that, you know, these folks that are taking these entry-level jobs, eventually you become an estimator. Eventually you become a supervisor. Eventually you become a project manager. Eventually you become a superintendent. All of these are incredibly well-paying jobs that, you're right, an estimator, and Dave can attest to this, estimators are not a dime a dozen. I can find an estimator a job right now. All they have to do is call me.
Exactly. Yeah. Not to mention within each field, within each trade, within each construction job, there's many fingers and avenues that you can take out from that. Like somebody, you know, somebody ended up in the carpentry trade, you know, he might end up with a lumber company, you know, specking jobs, selling lumber, selling big lumber, like lots of lumber. Okay. A guy that gets into welding, he might end up saying, well, you know, I really like welding, but I really understand steel and I know it. I'm going to start designing steel and selling steel buildings, whatever. There's so many avenues, like HVAC. Guy could be a really good tech and say, hey, you know, I want to go into sales, or maybe a guy is in sales and says, I want to be more of a mechanic. There's so many different avenues you can go down within each trade, and I think that's what makes it very appealing.
And I want to get back to a point. We had a viewer. She wrote in here With student loan debt is now more than credit card debt in the U.S., not all children learn the same way and have practical tech classes. Actually, having the practical tech classes actually enables many kids to understand math and science curriculum. So basically having, something to put it against is helping versus, this now that it's all common core and everybody has to learn the exact same way. I think she makes a good point. If they've got these other classes to apply it to, it seems like some kids might actually learn a little quicker.
By the way, the only math that Jeb knows is markup. He's really good at
I'm
markup.
very good with percentages, Dave. That was my favorite math.
Let me, before we turn it over to Rebecca and Charlie, just touch on that a little bit. I mean, I grew up in the trades working with my father, who was a contractor doing carpentry, masonry, all the different stuff it took to build houses and remodel and so on. But we got away from giving our youth exposure to that. And we kind of touched on, we made it a bad thing or a lower class if you were going into the trades. Well, that's not as good as going to college, and we've gotten to the point now, and so much of the trades ended up being picked up by folks coming in, from other areas of the world, from Mexico and so on, having to come here because nobody knew how to swing a hammer anymore or turn a wrench, and just such a sad situation where we now we're trying to realize or get back to filling those positions. And how do you see that those sort of set of factors working?
I think it's why we have
overcoming those.
I think that's why we have so many kids that are grads that are not doing what they went to school for.
Well, Chuck, let me give you some good news. One of the things that we're doing here in Delaware, we did it up in Newcastle. We had scheduled to do it in Sussex County before COVID hit, and that's to bring 6th, 7th, and 8th graders into a setting where they're able to talk with HVAC guys, electrical companies, masons, bricklayers, carpenters, and actually take a hammer and hammer that nail in a competition to see who could hammer it the fastest, to put together PVC pipe in a design and see how that all works. So we're able to subject these 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to the types of things that they can do in construction. But I'll go back to the original comment I made that it's one thing to reach the 6th and 7th and 8th graders. It's a different thing to reach their parents and get them to appreciate that these careers are good careers for their children as a alternative to college.
Right.
Charlie, we did a Money Jobs episode that spoke exactly to what you are talking about. I think that politicians have done the construction trades a serious disservice, and I think the media has been aiding and abetting what they have done by saying that education is for your college or university. Education is also what you are taking in the classroom and learning on the job in an apprenticeship. That too is education. When people say education is empowerment and education is the only way to a bigger paycheck, yeah, they may be right. Statistics and data prove that if you have education, then certainly you are going to earn more. But where was the moment at which we as Americans said apprenticeship was not education? Because it is. People are earning and learning and also attaining a credential that you don't just get awarded, you have to earn it. But this Money Jobs episode was about this young woman named Jessica Milan, and she wanted to go into the construction industry, and she told her mom this, and the mom was like, sure, yeah, absolutely, that sounds great, thinking that Jessica wanted to be a secretary for the local construction company. And when Jessica told her mom that, in fact, no, she wanted to be a carpenter, the mom kind of freaked out and said, oh, this is not a job for girls. This is dangerous. It's all men there. You know, they you know, it's not going to be a really good environment for you. So the local construction company actually came in. They have a jobs ambassador, essentially, that talks about what these careers are and what type of economic growth can be derived from them. She came in to the guidance counselor's office and met with Jessica and met with her mom in order to talk through some of the concerns that Jessica's mom had. You know, she reassured her that no, in fact, there are a lot of women who work here and they are very happy. And today, Jessica is a carpentry apprentice, and she had been telling her mom since she was 3 years old, practically as long as she could talk, that one day when she grew up, she was going to buy her mom a house. Do you know, Jessica, as a carpentry apprentice today, is well on her way to saving up enough money to buy her mom a house. I think that is absolutely remarkable. And it shows what can happen when people open their minds to the idea that these can be money jobs. You earn a lot of money, you earn a lot of clout, you have a lot of respect in your community, and you have a terrific portable education that can never be taken away from you.
Yeah, one of the challenges with the trades, I think, is on the surface, it's a very generational thing. Okay, so you'll find guys in the trades because their dad was in the trade or their grandfather was in the trade. Many people. So I think what we need to do is concentrate on getting those people out of the generational thing into the trades. You follow me? And it only starts at the beginning. You got to catch them early, because many of the guys that I know in the trades, I know Jeb and I we both were exposed to the trades when we were young. You know, my dad, and I think Jeb was with his grandfather, and you know, I think that's a lot of it out there. So we need to just, you know, I've been thinking about it a lot, and we just need to do a better job of getting the people that are out there doing it need to do a better job, and even the people in the schools, of giving access. I think what you did up north there, Charlie, I heard about that program up in Wilmington, and I was disappointed when it didn't, you know, wasn't able to evolve in Sussex County because of the COVID. And I hope that it can get back on track, because that's where it needs to be. And the reason I know that's true is because every one of these people we've met on the podcast, and people outside the podcast, but definitely every one of them on the podcast, has settled into something they had a passion for. It was not forced at all. You know, I would almost, the ones that aren't generational, kind of be a good program to get their parents on and say, wow, what was it like to accept that, you know, your son wanted to go into auto body when you did nothing with auto body? Was that a hurdle for you, or was that a status hurdle maybe, or was that something you were embarrassed to tell your friends? You know, I mean, what was it? There's got to be some stigma going on with it, or more people would be doing it.
Yeah, I don't know, Dave. If your kid at the cocktail party, if your kid is the one who's got the nice new truck, pulling the nice new boat, and just bought the cabin up north, then I'm pretty sure that person wins the cocktail party conversation.
I like that. Yeah.
So it's better than the kid living in the basement still, the failure to launch.
Because they have so much debt, and their philosophy degree did not buy them anything in the actual world of essential workers during this weird new economic time, except for being a barista at Starbucks. You know, we need to make sure that our students are actually choosing degrees where there are jobs available. When I was lieutenant governor here in Wisconsin, we worked really hard to build this huge database of all the jobs we had in Wisconsin so that students could look at that. I mean, any job seeker could look at that. And then also employers could look at that in order to do kind of like a match.com for employees and employers. But if you're a student and you don't see any Russian literature jobs on jobcenterofwisconsin.com, the odds that is a major that's going to pay off in droves are very slim. And so perhaps at that moment, you pursue Russian literature as your hobby, and instead, you consider construction trades, because you know that there are a lot of baby boomers who are in the middle of retiring, and there needs to be a generation of hard workers who have great ethics and are working hard based on merit to move ahead in their industry to fill their shoes.
Right. And Charlie, you mentioned the sixth, seventh, eighth graders. Are we hitting them again in 10th? Because, 11th and 12th, especially here, you got the vocational schools where it seems like if we hit them again in 10th grade, right before they make those decisions for their 11th and 12th grade electives, that could be a big change.
Yeah.
Even in their direction.
Yeah, at least here with the sophomores, juniors, and seniors, we have a CTE day in February where our members will go in, take a table, put any information they want out on that table and talk to students that are entering the different trades. So we hit them 6th, 7th, and 8th, and we come back and hit them again in the tech schools, that 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then what we try to do, we work with a co-op coordinator in the tech school that'll take the juniors, incoming seniors, and try to hook them up with one of our ABC members and have a co-op program in their senior year. And that's where the system really works, because most of these kids have every intention when they end their senior year to go directly into the workforce with that particular member. So it's a win-win for everybody. The business wins because they get themselves a qualified employee. The student wins because they get on-the-job training. And at the end of that period, they graduate from high school and they're automatically going into a career.
Right. With zero money out of the pocket.
With zero money out of their pocket. And that's the other thing in this you talk about trying to get the parents on board. We've also got to get the construction companies on board to work with the tech schools to get them into the tech schools. They'll talk with you. They'll communicate with you. They'll hook you up with the kids. But it's very, very hard for educators to leave those buildings and come see the contractor. So the contractor really needs to get out of that chair, get up out of their office, out of their truck, go into that tech school and say, "Hi, I want a couple of kids to work for me this summer. Who can you recommend?"
And that's what
they'll let you interview them. They just like a regular employee, you can interview them and hire them, but you've got to take the initiative because the school doesn't have the time. They don't have the personnel to do it. You've got to do it as a business person.
And they even let them out of class to come work for me as well. Like when it gets towards the end of the school year, they're allowed to come out of school, come work, and then I just got to sign over their hours, which is better than any classroom training they could do anyway.
Well, we do a 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off program here where the student works for you for 2 weeks and then goes back, gets their academic training for 2 weeks and continues that cycle through their senior year.
That's a good point, Charlie. I mean, all the the contractors out there, they have a piece of this. I mean, they need to offer up, mentorship for younger people, guidance, just availability, and not only for the younger people, for the parents. I mean, I know I get emails from time to time. I do some radio just because of my business, but I'll get some emails from time to time from parents asking about the industry, and just starting a question saying, "Hey, my son," and it always starts just about the same way. We really thought, Junior would be going to college, but he's expressed some interest in HVAC. Can you guide us? Can you tell us how you would do this or whatever? It always starts with the same line. So I get very few that say, Junior wanted to be in tech school, but now he's going to go to college. It goes the other way most of the time. But, I know a lot of not only successful business people in the trades, I know a lot of successful managers in the trades. When I say they're managers, they're not business people. They may not own the business, but they're integral parts of wherever they are. I mean, and some of the people I'm talking about, Charlie. I mean, there's some good managers out there that work for these companies that have been there for years and have careers. I mean, they have real careers at these companies. These aren't small, we say mom and pop companies, small business, but they're feeding a lot of mouths, and the people that in those companies that want to progress will progress. Trust me. If you have a will to progress in the trades, there is nothing that can stop you. There is nothing that can stop you.
Well,
I mean, nothing.
And let me kind of pick up on that, Dave, because this is a subject that we try to push into on every show, and it's a challenge, and I think it's a challenge that the country has to rise to, and that is to get more women into the trades. I mean, somehow during World War II, I mean, at least the story goes, I mean, women rose to the occasion and were in the workforce in the roles that were typically male. Then after the war, it's like, okay, women, get back, to what you were doing before. Us guys are back. We're going to take over again. Well, the situation is we need to have women also in the trades in a major way. And starting with you, Charlie, what is there anything going on in Delaware to try to improve the percentages of women going into the trades?
Diversity is becoming more and more important every day, obviously, and it's not just women. It's trying to get a more diverse workforce. In the tech schools, we are seeing more young women starting to have an interest in the trades, but it's nowhere near to the extent that it needs to be. And we're going to be in big time trouble, I agree, Chuck, if we don't get a more diverse workforce, because our workers are aging out. And if we can't get women involved in the construction trades, we're going to have a big, big problem. How you do that, anybody's guess. But, we're seeing that worm turn a little bit here, but it's not turning anywhere near as fast as it should.
I'll tell you what, though, Charlie, our experience with it is at my company and even some other companies that I know of has been 90% fantastic. Okay. With women that have gone into HVAC, I don't want to bash on the guys. It's hard to gush on the women and not bash on the guys. Be
careful, Dave.
It's a fine line, Charlie.
Be careful.
But they're great at details. They're great at communication. And the reason I know this is we get, of course, the world is reviewed now, right? The world is one big review. I mean, everybody knows we live by our reviews on Google, whatever it is. And I know the reviews and letters that we've gotten into the office when on the women that we've had in our workforce. And of course, we get a lot from men too, but it's the same theme with the women all the time. Very courteous, great communicator, very organized, paid attention to their work.
If I may, women actually make 85% of consumer household decisions in America.
Absolutely.
So women who are making the choice over who comes to their home. And they are probably in all likelihood going to be the ones reviewing that work because they're going to be the ones who made the choice. As a woman, I can tell you that you can't be what you don't see. You're never going to aspire to do something that you've never seen, never been exposed to. I'm never going to want to go into politics if I've never seen a female politician before. I'm not going to even be aware that it's possible. But because I was the lieutenant governor of this state, my two little girls can look at mom and say, oh, okay, well, that's just something women do. And so the more we showcase women in this industry to other women and expose young women who are making career choices to the fact that this is an outstanding opportunity, the better off we're going to be for diversifying our work base. And I say that done episodes of Money Jobs with Jessica, with Jesse, and having a shoot scheduled with a great company owner named Cheryl, a couple of our young people who are looking at doing youth apprenticeship, which is growing here in Wisconsin, were named Kayla and Audrey. And so we need to make sure that we're showcasing the women making these choices so other women are aware that these paths have already been tamped down. It's not tall grass that they're going to need to cut.
Rebecca, you hit the nail on the head. I think we need to make sure as we take these road shows out there, Charlie, and we go to these schools, go to that sixth grader to bang a nail or put a piece of ductwork together, whatever they're doing, is that we make sure we include the women. It's a whole workforce out there. It's a whole workforce. Make sure we speak to them. Okay. No less of an option for them than it is for the guys. I mean, I really can't think of anything in our industry the HVAC industry. I'm struggling to find any. Rebecca, you went with a glamour shot there.
Is that better?
There it is. Okay.
Oh, Zoom, you guys. I had to leave out.
You're not-
I had to leave
you're
out
not-
to pick up my
You're,
phone.
you're not a realtor on. You're not a realtor on the side, are you?
I felt I was in a haunted house for a minute there.
No, but,
I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. I
That's
wanted
okay.
to text my kids that the dog is barking. Please let her out.
That's
So,
okay. The dog can be included in this too, but it does. When
now,
I'm,
you know,
when I'm,
now you know that I will be texting them. You know my secrets.
what I'm saying is, we need to make sure this isn't just a second choice for the females out there, for the women. We need to make sure it's an optional first choice, okay, for them, and it's something they need to look at strongly. Just, I think that in my mind and in my heart with this, I just think we need to get to the point that I think we have a lot of workforce out there. I think we just need to get them introduced to what we do to become part of the choice. And as Charlie said, the parents, we just need to educate as many people as we can. Because Charlie, I'm with you. I mean, I know a lot of guys in the trades. Okay, we're all getting old. All right. We need some younger people.
It works that way, Dave.
We're all getting old, and like it's like all these parallel guys to me, and you know some of them. Okay, we've all kind of grown through this thing together, and there's got to be a workforce there behind us, coming up with this.
Well, and just to build on that a little bit, the women that we have talked to in the trades and asked if there were obstacles, because of them being women, and they said, really not. I mean, there was nobody that, no roadblocks. It was just more of a mental thing to actually engage into the field.
And Chuck, I'm going to hit on something that Charlie said earlier about how the only limitation to your ability to rise in this industry is your own imagination and your own merit, your own self-worth. And for women, I think that is a dynamic they can really embrace, because there are some women who like to jump in and out of the workforce based on the season of life they are in and any family choices they may make. But if you are progressing through your career and you're moving up and into jobs where your hard work and your qualifications allow you to do things that give you a more flexible schedule, and I'm thinking specifically of Jesse from Milestone Plumbing, then that's exactly what women are looking for. The construction industry, believe it or not, actually has some workplace flexibility. Yeah, you put in, some hard work at the beginning. That's no different than any other career. But if you work hard and if you showcase your talent, it is limitless, your potential. And I think women are really willing to embrace that. We just need to make sure that they know that there are other women out there ready to encourage them, who have already moved their way up the corporate ladder and in some cases already own the businesses themselves.
I'm certain myself that Jesse no doubt inspired some ladies to be plumbers that night she was on. I'm certain of that.
Well, and she said that women have a distinct advantage in the arena.
In any arena, Chuck.
Yeah, well, that's as we readily admitted, yes.
And for some of the folks that don't know it, there is a Women in Construction Association that if anybody wants more information on that topic, they can go to the Women in Construction website. There is a national association just for women in construction.
Do you know what that URL is by chance? We'll put it in the comments.
I should, but I do not.
All right, I'll look it up.
Just Google it.
That's Greg, our tech
So,
guy.
so if you had, Charlie, if you could say one thing to young people out there, or even second career people, what would be your elevator pitch to them right now? What would you say?
Put me on the spot.
I'll buy you a drink next time I see you.
I don't think, for a young person who's in their late teens, I don't think any of them really know where they're going to be when they turn 30 years of age. I know I didn't know. I just knew by the time I turned 30, I better know. So getting into a career in construction, trying that, see if you like it. It's, as Rebecca has said, you know, the financial picture for you in the first couple of years, little bit challenging. After that, you know what part of the construction you want to go into. Do you want to be an estimator? Do you want to be a project manager? Do you want to be a superintendent? Or are you happy just being an equipment operator? There's nothing wrong with equipment operators. They make incredible sums of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, don't be too quick when you're in your late teens to dismiss trying a lot of different things. And construction might just be one of those things that you try for a couple of years, and you never know, you might like it.
Rebecca, how about you?
Not an elevator pitch, Dave, but that's the best I can do.
Well, hey, how many floors was that building? No, go ahead. Give me
it was an
Empire State
number,
Building.
it was a well-built building. That matters.
So
You know,
the
Dave,
website,
do you want a money job? Do you want a career that is going to be reliable and where jobs are going to remain in the United States? Do you want a job where after your education, yeah, absolutely, you can get a new truck, pull in a boat, and you can start buying your cabin up north, or a new house, or a house for your mom, like Jessica?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a job where you have the clout in your community and in your state and in your country that people listen to you because your industry matters in building America? And do you want to take pride in the work that you've actually done with your hands and your mind? Do you want to be a part of the team? You want to learn the skills of leadership and followership? And do you want to help build America? These are the money jobs this industry has to offer. And I think that bar none, they are fantastic opportunities that should be as relied on and as prestigious as any job that comes with a 4-year college degree.
Amen.
I knew you should have asked her first, Dave.
Well, Charlie, I didn't want you to follow her.
That's why she was lieutenant governor.
I strategically put you first. Okay.
I would just add to Rebecca, and the only thing holding anyone back in any of those careers is themselves. They can move as fast as they move. They can climb that ladder extremely fast in our professions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Chuck, you got something you want to say? I can tell.
Well, I'm really excited about this show tonight. I think we're really focusing well on so many of the topics that are key to bringing people, whatever gender, into the trades. And what in your arena, I'll start with you, Charlie. How do you find or try to get people to find what they have passion for? I mean, what is that something that you help people find?
All right.
Go
well,
after?
I think certainly, you know, not to beat that dead horse, but I think the VOTEC schools are a great place for young people to find what they have a passion for, because you can get into that situation where you're working with some of the construction equipment inside the school itself, then getting outside the school, doing on-the-job training. So they'll find out really, really quick on a hot June day when it's 95 degrees outside, whether carpentry is something that they have a passion for. You'd be surprised how many people don't let the weather stop them, that they like being outside, they like working with their hands, they like doing a good, honest, hard day's work. They love going to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, be off by 3, and then play down to the beach until sunsets. So, you know, that's the way the young people find passion, is just go out and do it and try it. And at that age, you've got absolutely nothing to lose. At 35, you've got nothing to lose these days. Most people are working until they're 70 these days.
And Charlie, isn't it the gratification once they, I mean, I've seen it over I've trained a lot of people. I've had a lot of people work for me. I'm old now, but But what I have noticed is once they catch something, it's like finding, like the third year I took Algebra 1, I finally understood it. Okay. All right. And when that moment came, that math moment came, and seeing somebody, a young person out in the field that finally gets it.
Yeah. It's being able to look back and see what you've accomplished.
Oh, yeah. That's when the passion starts, and that's when it starts. That's when they get connected, and they want, many of them want more. Many of them want more. The vice president of my company came to work for me when he was 17. Mm-hmm. He's 42 now.
Okay. And I'm sure you were a great mentor to him.
Well, I fired him when he was 18 for about 5 hours. He's probably listening.
Taught him some lessons.
I hired him back, and he had the passion for it, and ended up being a teacher himself at night. Mm-hmm. And I've been fortunate. I got a lot of guys. Passion's the word. Once you get a passion, I don't care if you're doing auto body, electrical, somebody's hair, okay, selling real estate, whatever it is. If you've got that fire in your belly to be the best at what you do, it doesn't matter to me which thing you're doing, okay? Because guess what? There's always something else to learn. Mm-hmm. There's always another certificate to go get. There's always another class to take. There's always another avenue within your trade that you can go do. Like if you get bored with one, you can go do something else. And what somebody said earlier, I can't remember who said it, but very portable. The trades, I think Rebecca said, are very portable. You can live in New Mexico and do refrigeration work. Come to Delaware, I'll hire you. Okay. Go to California. Go to Alaska. Well, you don't want to do much refrigeration there. Go to Florida. Okay.
They just dig holes.
Yeah, it's done.
It's the same everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, fixing a 67 Camaro Fender might not be the same exact way, but you can get a job doing it everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. No shortage of work.
Wisconsin may not be the place for air conditioning, and there's midsummer they're ice fishing, right?
Billy, we joke a lot about our weather in the Midwest. It's just it's a coping skill. We talk about winter, so we do winter, and we talk about our short summers, but boy, do we ever enjoy them. And that's one of the really nice things about ABC is when you call ABC of Wisconsin and you have interest in becoming an apprentice, you're assigned almost like a personal job coach to kind of help you navigate the industry. And in many cases, you'll be paired up with an employer after you call through a list of folks that they know are hiring. So it's almost as if somebody already went through the list on monster.com for you if you call up ABC. And so you might work for a company for a couple weeks, a couple months even, as a laborer before you determine, you know what, I think I'd really love to pursue HVAC. Or, you know what, I think I'm in love with plumbing. Or, I'm passionate about masonry. So any number of things may come up during that time when you're proving your work ethic and you're showing your employer that you're a worthy investment. Because like I said, your employer is paying you while you are doing your on-the-job training. Wisconsin is one of only a very few states where there is a required payment. You do earn and learn, and that's the end of the story. It's not negotiable. And so that's why our apprentices come out of that 4 or 5 years so far ahead of a four-year college or university student, because they've been getting paid the entire time. And the classes themselves are only about $3,000 a year. And in most cases, you're going to find an employer who will not only pay you to learn in your on-the-job training, but also will pay for your apprenticeship classes. That is one heck of a deal. And so if you're looking for a bargain that's going to give you, a goodly amount of disposable income very, very quickly, the construction industry is it.
Wow, that was a great closeout. We hadn't asked for
that's
that.
A pretty good
that's
close.
it. That was it right there.
I don't know who wants to take it from there.
It's all Charlie from there.
Yeah, come on,
Charlie, give us a quick closeout.
Hey, Charlie,
I'm not going to follow that. It's
Charlie,
impossible.
Rebecca just threw it back to you, buddy.
Well, Charlie,
I'm not going to follow that one.
They can get a hold of you in Delaware, and
whatever Rebecca said.
Rebecca, I only have one question. Is that a green screen picture? Or is that really your kitchen behind
No,
you?
it's my kitchen.
Okay, just asking.
Candy from my garden.
Very
I
good.
mean, it's kind of clean. I did this for you guys.
You did a great job.
Like I picked
Well,
up.
I'm going to throw it over to these guys, but I just want to thank you both for being on here. You did a fantastic job. And you share the vision that the three of us have for this. And I always add this disclaimer. I'm not anybody that's listening out there, I'm not telling people not to go get bachelor's degrees and not to go to college and not to do that. What I'm saying is think about what you're doing and think about how you get there. Okay, think about how you're going to get there. What you need to do to get there. You know, don't overshoot it. All right. All right. There might be a different way to get there. And that's really my message. What about you, Chuck?
Well,
and thanks to both of you, true professionals, both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to help folks overcome that, the stigma when it comes to the choice to get into the trades, to feel that's a very special thing, not something to accept being looked down upon for making that choice. And certainly the economics of it should be made more publicly known so that people can feel better about doing the trades, and just open it up. And we're so desperate for people in just the broad spectrum of essential work. I mean, not many trades folks were told to stay home, I don't think. I mean, they were all needed, as opposed to, white collar types or, whatever, that, you can sit at home because you're not really doing anything that's essential. So I really appreciate what you, Charlie, and you, Rebecca, are doing to bring folks into that and change the mindset. And we here want to do whatever we can to help. Go ahead, Brooke.
Well, thank you for having us on the podcast.
Yep, we enjoyed both of y'all. Like I said, I was a member of ABC at one point myself. The fact that both of y'all are, it was great. You're doing the jobs thing. I think it's really.
What do you mean at one point?
About 2 years ago, I think I was in. I'm in a couple other organizations in my.
Hey, Jeff, Charlie won't stop till you join now. Trust me.
Well, I'm going to call that Virginia chapter.
Call them up.
Get off this podcast.
We're actually more of a service company than a construction company, so it was just a little different.
Charlie will say, "Good for you, join."
Yeah.
With all the other organizations I'm in right now, my wife's not gonna let me join another. But and then my podcast on Tuesday night. And I just want to say thanks to both of y'all for real. The schooling, what you're doing up there, that's phenomenal. Wisconsin, that y'all are getting a hold of those young kids and giving them that experience. Charlie, I know you're bringing them in. Maybe you can get a little program like they got in Delaware started up, and I mean, like they got in Wisconsin started in Delaware. I'm sure you'll start working on that tomorrow.
It's on my list.
Okay, awesome. Other than that, I just want to close it out. Blue Collar, Green Pockets, another great show. We'll see y'all again next week.